Hello dear students, welcome back again. Today we are going to take up the second part of chapter number 6, life processes. In the previous video class we had taken up the first part of this chapter, and in that video we had discussed about the process of nutrition. Today we are going to discuss about another life process that is performed by every living organism, respiration. So let us see what is this respiration. Respiration is the process of breaking down the carbohydrate inside the living cells in order to obtain energy. All the living organisms that are present in our surrounding or in the nature, irrespective of whether they are unicellular or whether they are multicellular, they all perform this process of respiration in order to obtain the energy required by their body for performing different activities. But this respiration is performed by different organisms in different manner. Depending upon whether oxygen is utilized during the process of respiration, this process of respiration is divided into three different types. The first type of respiration is the anaerobic respiration. This anaerobic respiration is generally performed by the unicellular organism, and it is done in the absence of oxygen. Let us see what happens during this anaerobic respiration. During the anaerobic respiration, glucose is broken down in the absence of oxygen first to form a substance known as pyruvate. Pyruvate is also a type of carbohydrate which contains 3 atoms of carbon, 4 atoms of hydrogen and 3 atoms of oxygen. So the formula of pyruvate is C3H4O3. This pyruvate is again broken down in the absence of oxygen to form an alcohol known as ethanol. Along with that, there will be production of carbon dioxide and energy. The formula of ethanol is C2H5OH. So the process of respiration is a stepwise process. It is not that the glucose is directly broken down into ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy in the anaerobic respiration. This glucose is first broken down into a simpler substance known as pyruvate. So in this way, the anaerobic respiration is performed, and the unicellular organism which performs this anaerobic respiration obtains energy. Now, let's come to the second type of respiration. The second type of respiration is the aerobic respiration. This type of respiration is generally performed by the multicellular organism, and it is done in the presence of oxygen. So now let us see what happens during this process of aerobic respiration. During the process of aerobic respiration, the glucose that is obtained by a cell, it will be broken down in the presence of oxygen inside the cytoplasm to form pyruvate first. As discussed before, pyruvate has a formula C3H4O3. This pyruvate will be again broken down inside the mitochondria in the presence of oxygen to form carbon dioxide, water, and energy. The energy that is produced in case of aerobic respiration is more than the amount of energy that is produced in case of the anaerobic respiration. Here, a complete breakdown of the glucose takes place. Because of that, more amount of energy is produced. So these are the things that is related to the aerobic respiration. Now, let's come to the last type of respiration. The last type of respiration is known as the partial respiration. This type of respiration is also performed by the multicellular organism. The multicellular organism which perform this partial respiration are the multicellular animals, and it is done inside the muscle cells. Now let us see what happens during this partial respiration. During partial respiration, the glucose is broken down in the presence of limited amount of oxygen to form pyruvate, whose formula is C3H4O3. Then again, inside the muscle cells, in the presence of limited amount of oxygen, it will be again broken down to another substance which is known as lactic acid, and along with that, energy will be produced. This type of respiration is generally performed by the muscle cells of animals when the body of that animals have little amount or insufficient amount of oxygen. The lactic acid that is formed here have a formula C2H5COOH. So these are the things related to personal respiration. So when we see once again these three types of respiration, in that we come to know that the glucose, it is first broken down into pyruvate in the cytoplasm. After that, the pyruvate is broken in different manners in order to obtain different types of products and energy to perform different types of respiration. So these are the things related to the types of respiration. Now let us see how the energy that is produced during the process of this respiration is stored inside the body. The energy produced during the process of respiration is not that all the amount of energy that is produced is utilized by the body immediately. Some amount of it will be utilized by the body as per their requirement, while the excess amount of energy that is formed will be stored inside the body in the form of a structure known as ATP. ATP, the full form of it is known as adenosine triphosphate. It is formed by the combination of three phosphate molecules. The energy that is produced during the process of respiration, the excess amount of it will be utilized in order to bind these three phosphate molecules to form ATP, and it will be stored inside the cell. Afterward, when there is a requirement of energy, at that time the ATP will be broken down to form another structure known as ADP. Along with that, one phosphate molecule will also be produced. The full form of ADP is adenosine diphosphate. This ADP and the phosphate molecule will be present inside the cell itself. Afterward, when the process of respiration is performed again and when excess amount of energy is produced, then that excess amount of energy will be again utilized to join this ADP and the phosphate to form ATP back again. So in this way, the energy, excess amount of energy that is produced during the process of respiration is stored inside the body for future use. So these are the things related to the energy that is stored inside the body. Now let's come to some of the things that are related to the process of respiration. The next topic that we are going to discuss is breathing. Breathing is the process of exchange of gases, that is, taking in oxygen and removing out of carbon dioxide from the body of an organism. The process of breathing is performed by the organism which perform aerobic respiration. It is because the aerobic organism requires the oxygen to break down the food materials inside their body. Because of this reason, the breathing process is very important for the aerobic organisms. The process of breathing is performed by different organisms by the help of different organs. For the terrestrial organisms, the breathing process is performed by the help of the lungs. While in case of the aquatic organism, mainly the organ that is used for the breathing process is the gill. In case of the organism which we call it as the amphibians, different organs are used to breathe when they are on land and in water. When they are on land, they breathe by the help of lungs, but when they are in water, they breathe through gills or through their moist skin. One breath contains one inhalation and one exhalation. Inhalation is the process of taking in of the air, while that of the exhalation is the giving out of the air from the body. So, one breath includes one inhalation and one exhalation. The number of breaths an organism takes in 1 minute, we call it as the breathing rate. The breathing rate for different organisms are different. In case of the human being, the breathing rate for a normal human being at rest is 12 to 16 times per minute. That means in 1 minute, a normal healthy person at rest will breathe 12 to 16 times. But this rate of breathing is different when we compare the breathing rate of the aquatic organisms and the breathing rate of the terrestrial organisms. The terrestrial organisms, as they are surrounded with the atmospheric air which contain a large amount of oxygen, they can get easily the oxygen that is required by the body even if they breathe slowly also. But in case of the aquatic organism, as the amount of oxygen present in the water in the dissolved form is very less, they have to breathe in a faster rate so that they can get the required amount of oxygen by their body. The process of breathing is also known as extracellular respiration, means a respiration that is taking place outside the body. So these are the things that is related to the breathing process. Now let's come to the respiration in human beings. The process of respiration in human being is performed by the help of an organ system known as respiratory system. The respiratory system includes the nostril, trachea, larynx, pharynx, bronchi, bronchiole, and alveolar sac. Let us see the functions of different parts of the respiratory system. So this is a simple diagram of a human respiratory system. The respiratory system in human beings includes the nostril, pharynx, larynx, trachea, lungs. Inside the lungs, there will be presence of bronchi, bronchioles, and alveoli. So let us see one by one the things that are performed by these parts of the respiratory system. Nostril is the part through which the oxygen present in the atmosphere is taken in. The nostril contains fine hair-like structure which act as a filter. The dust particles and other fine pollutants that are present in the air when we inhale it, they are then filtered out by the help of those fine hairs present in the nostril. From here, the air will pass inside the lungs through pharynx, larynx, and trachea. The larynx is also known as voice box. When the air passes through this larynx, the sound that we produce are formed. Then, from the larynx, the air will pass through the trachea. The trachea is made up of rings of cartilage. Cartilage are soft type of bone. These rings of cartilage that is present in this trachea develops a flexible nature to this trachea, which helps to prevent the collapse of the passage of air. The trachea is then divided into two branches, each branch going in its lung. The branches that is formed is known as bronchi, which after entering inside the lungs will be again further subdivided into small branches, which we call it as a bronchiole. At the end of its bronchiole, there will be presence of a bag-like structure, which is known as the alveoli or the alveolar sac. The alveoli or the alveolar sac, they are richly supplied or connected with the blood vessel. One of the blood vessels will be bringing the blood from the heart to the alveoli. This blood that is brought from the heart to the alveoli, it contains carbon dioxide. So this carbon dioxide containing blood, when it enters the alveoli, the carbon dioxide from the blood will be filtered out and it will be exhaled out of the body. During this time, the air that we inhale, which contains oxygen, this oxygen present in that air will be mixed with the blood and it will be sent to the heart back again to circulate to different parts of the body. The blood contains a pigment, red colored pigment, which is known as hemoglobin, which traps the oxygen and helps in the transportation of it to different parts of the body through the heart. During the process of breathing, a residual amount of air is always present inside the lungs, so that the exchange of the gas, that is, the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide, never stops. This process of breathing is also helped by different parts of our body. During the process of breathing, certain change happens in the chest cavity of the human body. During inhalation, our chest moves upward and the diaphragm, a thin layer which separates out the chest cavity and the abdomen cavity, moves down. But during exhalation, the chest cavity moves inwards and downward, and above that, the diaphragm that is separating the chest cavity and the abdomen cavity moves inward. So in this way, the volume of the chest cavity is increased and decreased so that the air can be drawn in and drawn out respectively. So these are the things that are related to the human respiratory system. So with this, we come to the end of this topic, respiration. In the next video class, we will take up the remaining two life processes, that are transportation and excretion. So for today, let us wind up here, dear students. Thank you.